Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Content Marketing Month 2020 Kickoff.
Thanks for joining us today. I'm Amy Mersch. I'm a marketing manager at ProSource, a B2B technology company, and I also serve on the AMA Cincinnati Board of Directors as the VP of Marketing Communications. I'm really excited to be here because I spend most of my professional time in content marketing. So, I spend a lot of time there, but I also know that I and all of us can be better marketers.
Yes, certainly. So I'm Barry Williams, the Director of Marketing at Circle, also the co-chair of the digital marketing community here at AMA Cincinnati. I'm really excited for the webinar because it's great to speak with you, and Content Marketing Month in general because I'm less of a content marketer than you are, but it's something that I really want to get better at, and I'm lucky to have a great content marketer on my staff, and I want to make sure that she is always learning and growing and that we're doing the best things here. So it's going to be a great month for both of us, and she's going to so many events. I'm excited. So now we are turning off the camera and we're just going to talk to you. So bear with me for a second while I deal with my multiple screens, and we will continue.
Like a lot of screens.
All right, now it's just slides.
So we wanted to start. We know we've got a lot of new faces in the crowd. Thank you guys for joining us. Wanted to start and just make sure everybody knows about AMA Cincinnati. Our mission is to be the essential community for our region's marketers. And that is everyone from, YPs, even our collegiate members. We love when they come into our community, through mid-career marketers all the way up through, executive marketers, senior leaders. Our strategic goals are to provide all of this community with learning and professional development opportunities. That's what a lot of this month is about. But core to everything we do is also networking. That's because we all know that that's how we become our best professional selves, is by growing that network. And so we are here to bring you opportunities to grow your skill set, diversify your portfolio of work, and also just give back as a mentor, contribute thought leadership, get involved in our organization, get involved in our programming, a lot of ways where we are here for you from the start to the end of your career. Yeah,
it's one of the things that I really love about AMA Cincinnati. When I moved back to Cincinnati 2 years ago, AMA is one of the first things I joined, and it's created a whole new network and just friends for me who I can talk to about marketing, because my wife gets a little bored with it after a while. So it's great to have other people I can nerd out with. So it's a great community and I love it. So thank you. And then Content Marketing Month is a critical part of any marketer's content marketing is part of the strategy, and Content Marketing Month is one of the ways that I kind of use as a way to level up my strategy and my company's strategy. So that's one of the reasons why AMA Cincinnati, we as a group, have strategically centered our January programming around the idea of content marketing. You see a list of events on the right side of the screen. I'm not going to bore you by reading every single one in detail because we're going to get into more detail on it in a little bit. But there's a lot to offer this month, and they're all centered around the idea of content marketing. And it's kind of to the point that we can't really just do the random acts of content that we've discussed, at least amongst ourselves, of just throwing out a blog post and hoping that it'll get people to come to your site. So if you're a marketer, regardless of the vertical you're in, you're going to need to, you're on the hook to demonstrate the value for your organization. And from a content perspective, that means a couple things. So there are emerging options and new media to explore and evaluate, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And then the time is always ripe to review the foundational principles that help you develop, organize, and effectively execute an editorial calendar and strategy.
Especially here at the beginning of the year. That's kind of like why we like to do this in January, because, hopefully you've done some planning for the year already, but, kind of depending on your marketing team, your makeup, we're still doing some planning for this year. There's still a chance to ground yourself in, strategy and make sure that we're spending the year executing back against that instead of, like you said, doing these random acts of content.
Yeah, and I think that all really boils down to kind of defining your key performance indicators. So the metrics that really matter to your business is a huge part of this, and I think goes back to the random acts of, like, if you can't just be like, I put out a thing and then 764 people looked at the thing. You really need to be able to tie it back to moving the needle for your business.
So and that's why we are talking this month. So this is our 4th annual content marketing month, and that's why we're focusing on content that converts, because it's really about, we as marketers, you know, are always tasked with trying to show our value or ROI of everything that we're doing. So that is what this month is about.
Yeah, so let's do it.
Let's get to it. All right, guys, podcasts are the sleeping giant of content types.
Yep.
I think that is like such a powerful statement.
It really is. So I know, I remember the beginning days of podcasts. I thought it was a weird radio play from Apple. But it's really cool to see everything that's happened. And I know that on Circle's side, I host a podcast, which is a little odd still to actually record one, just because I'm not used to hearing my voice in my own car. But it's been a huge driver of success for us and a great way of leading more people to demos with us.
And I think that, you know, that's, so you said it feels weird. It's probably how a lot of us feel. You know, we as businesses don't necessarily know how to do this yet. True. But we also know that the number of podcast listeners has tripled in the past decade, and that is growing. And then, you know, when you pair with this with the fact that podcasts are so mobile friendly, like this is a really big opportunity. Like 1/3 of American adults a month are listening to podcasts, but we, as the people who are here to create them, don't necessarily know how to do that.
Yes, and I think you'll find out that the bar isn't that high. So there's a lot that you can do to actually start podcasting, and I think there's that fear of starting for a lot of people, which is why I'm excited for tomorrow's event. It's kind of the pod shop, which is cute. It's a workshop about how this podcasting workshop with Empower Media, who's amazing at this.
So we went to our friends at Empower. They are brilliant. They were named the 2019 Ad Age Agency A-List Standout. Their revenue grew 30% last year, which is enormous. But they've got their own podcast. It's called Breakfast First. They started it. Yeah, that's a good name. That's what they talk about. One of their values is breakfast first. That's cool. But they started this back in May of 2018, and I think they're about 30 episodes in. So they have been there from, you know, kicking off this new initiative to, you know, we're a 1.5 years later. So we're really excited to have them. They are pros at this.
Yeah, and I think the kind of getting started stuff is going to be really important. So how you can do a homemade studio. You don't have to be worried about the gear list to get started. Right. You can grow towards that, but you don't need to spend $1,000 just to create your first podcast. And I'm really excited to learn more.
And that's what's cool about this workshop is, you know, this is an immersive thing. So we are going to be at Empower. We're going to see their studio. They'll be able to talk to us about their successes, how they got this off the ground, how they've sustained it, which is that's the hard part with any new marketing initiative, right? And then hopefully being there will give you a chance to kind of envision what this could look like for your organization or even for your clients.
Yeah, I don't think there's a B2B or B2C strict line on podcasting. It can work for a lot of different use cases. So tomorrow we're going to get out of the office. We're going to stretch our legs a little bit and just have a really cool conversation in Empower Studio. Great. So Content Marketing Month 2020, tip number 2. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Great. 90% of the information transmitted to the brain is visual. So kind of moving from ears to eyes. The power of visuals is unquestionable. And one great way of doing that I like are infographics.
Right.
So they are a great kind of easy way to see highly technical data or just like really data heavy information in an easy to digest form. I know that it's super shareable, something you see all over the internet.
And that's what we're all trying to achieve, right? Is something that people want to read and they want to share.
And you get that great SEO play. I know you were talking about the EAT acronym.
Right.
What was it again?
Expertise, authority, and trust. So this is like the defining criteria for Google and showing up on a Google search engine result page. And again, that's the other thing that we all really want too. And that's what our organizations like to see. You know, a lot of my questions for me is, well, Amy, why you know, how do we get on this page?
Yep.
This is one of the ways. Quality information that is presented in this really easy to understand format can lead to expertise, authority, and trust. You know, it's going to live on a page on your site. It's going to have good links around it. It's going to have a meta description, all these things that SEOs are pretty excited about.
Which is why we're having the event on January 9th with Now Sourcing about infographics. I love the title, infographics that win basketball contracts and get businesses acquired. Definitely something that makes me want to wake up and get to the office key in Brookwood Towers at 7:45 on the 9th. Just seems really interesting and something that I would like to figure out how to fold into our marketing operations more.
Right.
Those quick shareable wins that can come from an infographic.
Yeah, Brian Wallace from Now Sourcing will be here. So they are a creative agency where infographics is what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can tell by the title of this session, they know how to drive revenue. They know how to drive results with them. It's going to be really interesting. So they have executed campaigns across just a ton of verticals. So they're going to bring a couple of their favorite examples to us.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, while you might not have an agency to create your infographics for you, I don't at the moment. So you'll be able to come to this community, walk away with just an understanding of really the incredible value that this has, and also just a better idea of when and how and why you might want to use these in your content strategy, kind of no matter where you are in that content marketing or design maturity spectrum. I think we've all got a lot to learn here.
Yes. That brings us to tip number 3, also a visual media, but something that's a bit more, has some movement behind it. Surprise. Video is the #1 preferred medium for consuming content. It is kind of like a personal surprise because I'm one of the rare people that just doesn't really engage with media. I know it makes me a bit of a pariah, but it's just not something I think of at the front end.
We've got 2 of us weird people in the same room then, so It's good that we're talking about video. My background is actually in writing.
Okay.
That's how I got into marketing, through the communications perspective.
Yes.
So I actually prefer to read over watch video, but like you said, I know I'm weird, and that I need to be setting up my organization for this percentage of whatever the percentage is, this #1 preferred medium for content.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to remember that the data is honest. Like other people like
it's not about my personal preference.
And it's about learning how we can start using video in a good way for our organizations. One of the reasons why I was so excited to get my community to talk about it.
Yes, this is Barry's community, for those who aren't aware. Barry is one of the co-chairs, as we mentioned, of our digital marketing and technology community. So, all right, Barry, we talked about like why video is important, and what the thing that I am telling myself, and I don't know if you guys are with me, but in 2020, you know, if you're not doing video of some kind, you're just falling behind. So, you know, it's January 7th, and I don't like to hear that I'm possibly falling behind for the year.
Yep.
So
I'm with you on that one.
But also not everybody has, again, you know, depending on where you work, you know, what your resources are, not everybody has $20,000 to put into video a year. So I'm really excited that you guys are doing this.
Thank you, as am I.
Because talk to me here about what your goals were, because I think this is just perfect timing.
I think it all kind of stemmed from a conversation I was having with Kendra Ramirez, who's one of the co-presenters for our event on the 15th.
And one of our 2017 AMA Cincinnati marketing legends.
That's very true. So she and I were kind of talking about my pains with video and how something I want to do, but our budget doesn't have the $20,000, like you mentioned, set aside, or even the $5,000. Just looking for more DIY options. And that happens to be one of the things that she excels at. So she has kind of mastered the art of video and doing it on a budget that won't be too big of a swing for somebody that has a limited marketing budget.
That's exactly what I think a lot of our community needs.
Yeah, so we can't take that giant risk of jumping in with a third of our budget for a video. So it stemmed from that conversation, and she and I started talking about Casey Williams from Spotted Yeti. If you don't know Spotted Yeti, they are one of the best video production houses in the city, in my opinion. And Casey had come to speak to our community. Kendra and I used to co-chair it together about 1.5 years ago, and we just loved his perspective. He has so many years of experience kind of behind the camera, but also in terms of video strategy. So he can shoot you a beautiful film, but he knows how to make it impactful.
So they are bringing this really cool combination of, Casey's experience, being a producer, and then Kendra's just vast digital marketing experience, working with clients to, help different kinds of clients figure out how to fit this into their strategy. I think this is just going to be such a cool, actionable, hopefully empowering, because I think that for those of us who maybe don't have the money, we think we don't have the money. I think is the point, right? Yes. It's not true. I think this can be an intimidating thing to get into. So I think this is going to be a really empowering session. Learning how to, get video to work kind of no matter what industry you're in. Some people say, I work in a boring industry. I guarantee you there's opportunity for video there.
Yeah, and boring's a relative term. Sure. You might be bored by rereading the same thing about your industry, but if you can frame it in an exciting way, that's part of your job as a marketer.
So the goal here is, 1, we know that video content converts.
Yep.
And 2, we can make it work kind of in any budget.
Exactly.
And that's what we're going to learn.
Yep. And just please, for those out there who will be attending on the 15th, come with your questions. We want this to be as interactive as possible. It's going to be kind of a Q&A panel setup more than anything.
You know what? I was actually talking to somebody over the holidays, and they were saying that they were asking me questions about video. Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, perfect. I don't know the answer, but I know people who do.
Yeah.
So
great. Well, I look forward to seeing them.
Awesome.
And now, tip number 4. More than 50% of marketers either have zero clarity or are unsure of how effective their content marketing is. It's the classic measurement problem that I know I've stumbled upon, and I assume a lot of other marketers have as well. So one of the ways of attacking that would be to kind of weave market research into your content strategy. Right.
So, we picked content that converts as our theme for this year, very intentionally. You can't know how effective your content is, whether it's driving conversions, unless you know how to measure it, unless you've got some tools or processes or frameworks in place. And then you also need some discipline behind that.
Yep.
And this is where we look to our friends in the marketing research field,
yes,
because these are the things that they are really good at.
And definitely one of the things that I want to make sure I am in the room for. On January 21st, the marketing research community is having the Innovators POV on market research for strategic content ROI. This is going to be presented by Western and Southern's April Curley, who is a subject matter expert in digital content strategy, kind of in evolving team environments too, which I think would be cool for the attendees since she has experience across the board there.
Yeah, she's been in digital, she knows content, she knows innovation, and she knows how to tie all those things together. And what she does is grounded in a lot of processes, a lot of discipline, just things that she knows works is what she implements. And I think that's what a lot of us need is, it's one thing to tell me to go back and measure what I'm doing,
yep,
but I need some kind of process to take back and figure out how to do that. So, marketing research, like I said, we're always good to get best practices from this community. They bring us really practical ideas, and then principles that you just want to bake into your content strategy. And especially if you're getting to a content strategy and you're like, all right, I have this set, and now I need to keep validating it, or I need to evolve it, or I want to move it into a way where we know that this is actually reaching, trying to become customer centric. So we're super excited about this session.
Which brings us to tip number 5. No matter where you are in your career or your experience level, you're always in a position to learn. I think that really speaks to the value of networking and one of the things that I love about our community. So we'll be having our Trailblazer Series reception on the 22nd. I know I've been fortunate enough to at least attend one of them. I'm looking forward to this one as well.
Yeah, these are really cool. Our executive marketer community, if you guys don't know about it, they've been doing these receptions the night before Trailblazer events. So it's an intimate reception. You get networking with other marketing leaders, but you also get the chance to meet the Trailblazer Series speakers in advance, ask them your questions. And it's just what a cool way to not only grow your network with other marketers, but, you know, the people that we're bringing in as true trailblazers. So if you guys don't remember, our Trailblazer series hosts marketers who have been, might even still be in, I mean, our shoes.
Yes. Right
here. And, you know, they have found ways to innovate, overcome challenges, and just really lead their organizations in ways that are now making us talk about them.
Exactly. So that brings us to our special guest, who's going to be presenting tip number 6 for us. All right, everyone's in frame. Sara Fay, welcome to the webinar.
Hi, everybody.
Let me get to your tips. So if you could just do a brief intro of yourself, and then we will dive straight into your tip.
Yeah, so I'm Sara Fay. I'm the Vice President of Marketing for First American Healthcare Finance, and then I'm also the VP of Programming for our AMA Trailblazer Series. Can we see the tips?
Yes, the tips are up. Okay.
We have a couple tips that are related to our Trailblazer series, which the topic is focused around disruptors of content marketing. So the first one, 40% of US internet users expect direct-to-consumer brands to account for at least 40% of their purchases within the next 5 years. We also know that the entire content marketing industry will be worth $412 billion by 2021.
Wow.
So it's quite a big lump of money. And then our third tip related to Trailblazers, 40% of B2B marketers will spend more time and money on content in 2020. So that's right now.
Yeah.
How does all this tie into our January topic? So our topic is disruptors in content marketing. And I read a recent Forbes article that said no other segment of the business enterprise has had to work to redefine its role and mission more than marketing. And this really applies to content marketing as well. For our January topic, it's just really showing that content marketing is no longer white papers and case studies, like even though those will always remain like staples and
that's what so many of us think of. Yeah. So that's why this is so important, because we see the area of opportunity that content marketing has, and then Trailblazer is here to help us see what to do with it.
Yep.
Yeah, and then so what we're seeing is content marketing is evolving, and it's now like physical interactive pieces and providing unique experiences and having influencers help with your brand, customization to very, very specific individual preferences, but on a mass scale. And no matter what your organization is or what your role is, if you are a marketer, you're going to have to start thinking outside the box in order to compete in such a crowded landscape.
It seems like that's the theme of our industry at this point.
Right.
Thinking outside the box to make sure that we stick out, which is great. I'm super excited for this one.
Yeah. And then the brands we chose, GE, Home Chef, and BarkBox. These are very recognizable brands right now. We chose them because they are disruptors within their industry. Home Chef, for example, stepped into a very traditional food industry of both the grocery store channel and the kind of takeout and eating out and having food prepared like almost for you. And they created a new channel, and it's been highly successful. And
they turned it into an experience.
Exactly.
Even.
Yeah. And then so they solved an obstacle of wanting to be able to have like great meals and have the home cooking experience, but take out the challenge of going to the grocery store and finding a recipe and just those things that might make it a little bit harder. And BarkBox has a very similar story.
Except it brings in dogs, which
that's true.
Barry and I are both big fans of dogs.
Yeah, mine did a presence in a recent call. But I also think it's interesting that GE is there, because they're such an established, known brand. So it's cool to get their perspective as well.
So talk to us about that a little bit, Sara.
Yeah, so we really did want to find an established brand, and as many people know, GE was established in 1892. and continues to make just the list of top Fortune 500 firms. So like how are they being innovative when they're known for like power and water and appliances? But I don't want to spoil them.
I know, I was about to ask you, how are they?
January 23rd,
but wait, you have to come.
Given all those very like traditional and kind of industrial types of things they might be known for, there will be some stories shared about how GE products and ideas got into the New York fashion world and made an appearance alongside with one of New York's most famous fashion designers.
Wow.
And appeared at the 2019 Met Gala. So more to come on that.
That'll be cool.
And I think that this is going to be so cool because every single one of us has had somebody say, like, we've always done this way, you know, right? Yep. And if GE is showing us these examples of innovation, I mean, none of the rest of us have excuses for, you know, why we're not evolving too.
Yeah.
So this is going to be so exciting. If you guys haven't been in one of our Trailblazer series yet, they're such a fun event, especially we've adjusted the format a little bit here. We're kind of huddling up over lunch and having some conversation and networking and you know, more kind of question and dialogue. And they're just a great event for professional development, learning, networking. Very excited.
Yeah, that's a great event. Can't wait for it.
Awesome.
So January 23rd. And then I know we told you we would be out by 12:30. So we have 2 minutes. Let's get through our final tip pretty quickly. I apologize if there's two left. I apologize. Final two.
We'll go a bit quicker.
All right. So tip number 7. 58% of decision makers have chosen a business to work with because of their thought leadership content.
Whoa.
Which is nuts to me. Which makes sense though, I guess, like looking at ABM Terminus and their podcast, it's an example that comes to my mind pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And to go into more detail on this, we have our CX and Sales Enablement Community event, Content That Converts, how Paycor transformed their marketing engine. We'll be doing that on the 28th of January, also at the Office Key in Rookwood.
So this community is going to be really cool. You know, we mentioned that AMA Cincinnati does Content Marketing Month because we really believe that this kind of marketing is the foundation for, you know, really a successful marketing program. And Paycor is somebody who has seen this, believed it, and they have figured out how to make it work, implemented it in such a way that it helped evolve and elevate their entire marketing and sales approach, and just drive a ton of revenue doing it.
And then we could go into more detail, but I apologize. We're going to go straight to number 8. From 2017 to 2018, the number of web accessibility lawsuits jumped 177%. And that's expected to rise again in 2019 once all of those lawsuits are tallied.
So web accessibility is really emerging right now because it's part of your user experience. Mm-hmm. So any content that you're creating, you know, we're talking about creating this content, making sure that the users you're creating it for are able to access it, whether it's, you know, a lot of what we're talking about this month is media that isn't text, and that's crazy, but that, you know, that really is why all of these kinds of, you know, your text content needs to be accessible, but you need to have alternative ways for all of these other non-text content to be viewed too. So videos, infographics, podcasts, if we're going to have these things, how do we make sure that all of our users can access them? Yeah,
and I think, well, we'll go into more detail on the next slide, but the workshop is the content on your website accessible. That's going to be on January 22nd, and I believe I mistyped their name. I apologize. Lumino?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. They will be presenting on how to make the content on your website more accessible, and it's just a good reminder that we need to just take a few extra steps to make sure that everyone that we're trying to speak to can actually get our message.
So I've actually been through some of the Lumino's training, and it is eye-opening. I mean, I spent a lot of time in content. I spent a lot of time in web content. So they, you know, they've given us examples on, they even kind of show you what it looks like, it feels like to be trying to access content with different kinds disabilities. And then they'll walk you through, you know, they've got a hit list, and then that's just even the tip of the iceberg of things that I can be and I should be doing to take all of this content that I'm creating and make sure that, you know, if someone's using a screen reader, no matter how they're modifying to get to this content, that it's something that is built for them as well. Yeah,
and you don't have to then go and do all of that research yourself, because there's so much out there. And it's one of those unknown questions too, like as a person who can see and hear and able, it's hard for me to know exactly.
Things you wouldn't have thought of.
So they're a great resource for that. It's gonna be a good session.
And this is here to, you know, we want to shift our thinking from things being just, you know, web accessibility as kind of an afterthought to just overall thinking in an inclusive way about our content. So if you have any, you know, if there's any part of you that does anything on your website, or, you know, creates content that someone in your team is going to be putting on the website, you've got something to learn in this session.
That's going to be a great one. And that brings us to the end. Thank you all for your time, and particularly for the extra 2 or 3 minutes at the end.
So everything that we do as a chapter, the AMA Cincinnati, wouldn't be possible without our awesome partners, you know, from putting on events, programming at Trailblazer, to even our email platform, Circle, nudge, nudge. So we're really appreciative. We continue to have great relationships with these organizations. We couldn't do it all without you.
And we also couldn't do it without our community. So thank you all for coming today. We hope you have an amazing Content Marketing Month. And thank you both for joining us today. It was a lot of fun.
We'll be back.
Yes, on January 31st. Details coming soon. By details, I mean a registration link. And you can keep the conversation going at AMA Cincinnati on Twitter, #CMM2020.
Thanks, Barry. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you, everybody.